Well, I hope I get it right. Third time lucky. Dear me, I have to tell you, what you don't see is the technical difficulties I had a few moments ago. All caused by myself. Now, this is actually the third time I've restarted the recording of today's programme. Believe it or not. The first time, I done 15 minutes, and I looked over at the camera, because this, as well as being on the radio, we also put these shows on YouTube. Now, you can find always the latest one by going to unitedkingdomtalk.tv. Okay, that's my own little YouTube channel, unitedkingdomtalk.tv, and the show is exactly the same as you're hearing it, except it's in video as well, and you can see my happy, beaming little face on the video screen, together with one of my large selection of exquisite, colourful shirts. Alright, so you can find that at unitedkingdomtalk.tv. I did 15 minutes of the show, I've been chatting away 15 minutes, and I looked at the camera and suddenly I realised, Chris, you haven't started the camera. So there we are, that's filming now. So I switched it on and restarted the show. Okay, so I played me a little bit of some music. Chris Reardon, live from the Mirrorball studio and all that business. And I looked over. Hang on a minute, let me just... Actually, let's look up. Yeah, that's all right now. And I looked over after talking for about 3 minutes and realised I hadn't switched the microphone on this time. There's so much to remember. There is so much to remember, boys and girls, and I can't keep up with it. I need a technical assistant. Who wants to be my technical assistant? You could sit over... I'm sorry, you wouldn't be in view of the camera. You'd be operating the buttons. Huh? Do you want that job? There's no pay, I'm afraid. You have to do it for the love. It's a bit like working for the church. Really? There's a fly in here. Oh, it's gone. Thank God for that. Did anyone, incidentally, talking of flies in studios, did anyone see the video of Barack Obama, who I've got so much, what's the word? Respect for that man. Barack Obama, trying to bring different peoples together. Isn't he fantastic? As someone I'd like to meet. Fantastic. Barack Obama. By the way, I don't know if you knew, but is it his step-nan or his step-mum lives here in Bracknell and plays bingo at the Bracknell Leisure Centre. The Point Bingo in Bracknell. So if you're ever coming to the UK for a visit, you must come and play bingo in Bracknell. Huh? No, I'm not hosting it. I'm not hosting it. I'm talking of bingo. The Steamcoat in Hemel Hempstead, they've asked me to do another bingo night down there. So it's all exciting. I like doing little bits here and there, don't you? Anyway, back to... Now, where did we get to? Oh, yes. So this is the third time we've started the show, and I hope this time we can get right through the whole hour without having to start again. So much to remember, so much to remember. Now, as I was saying... I have most of my birthdays logged in at bingoalarm.com or something. I can't remember exactly what it's called. And I thought Matty in Tasmania was one of those people, but clearly it's not on there, so I'll have to check that when I finish the show. Now, on this programme, United Kingdom Talk, by the way, welcome along. This is United Kingdom Talk, a 3 times a week talk show. My name's Chris Reardon, and we like to do birthdays occasionally. If people write in, perhaps for themselves, or indeed someone else, and they want me to sing happy birthday, then I am only too pleased to extend my lubricated vocal cords for your earring pleasure. And today, or it's been about 2 weeks ago now, it was Matty's birthday, so we must sing happy birthday to him. Here we go. We've got the orchestra are standing by in the orchestra. Oh yes, there's an entire orchestra employed for this programme. No expenses spared. It's not all on CDs and records and sound bites. There's an entire orchestra next door, conducted by the great Andre Previn. He's waiting for my command. When you're ready, Andre. Thank you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Matty. Happy birthday to you. Thank you, Andre. That's all for now. Yes, he's gone to have a cup of tea now. All right, and Matty writes, I had a good birthday and a good day. I was born on June the 17th, 1981. Now, what does that make him then? 1981, 91, 01, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Is that 28? I think you're 28. Hang on, if you'd be 1 in 1982, wouldn't you? You'd be 1 in 1982. So, I'm blooming useless with numbers, I'm afraid. So how old would you be in 92? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Is that 11 in 92? 11. 21 in 02. 22, 23, 24, 29, 26, 20. I think you're 28. Is that right, Matty? I think you're 28 now. He said, I had a lot of cake today and lots of junk food. Oh, you didn't have junk food, did you? Oh, all those calories, dear, and all that badness for your heart. You naughty boy. All right, I'll allow it for your birthday, okay? He said, today I had lunch. It was Chinese. Oh, no, you mustn't eat that foreign stuff, dear. Oh, God, Chinese, Indian, Thai, don't touch it. Poisonous. He said it was charcoal duck. Charcoal duck? What's that then? Is that duck that's been cooked so much that it's gone black? Is it? I thought charcoal was something you cooked over, not cooked. Charcoal duck. I had it with fried rice. Charcoal duck with fried rice, number 58, please. Thank you very much. £2.95. £3, I'll give you £5 change. Thank you very much. Please quote again. We love it. I had fried rice, it was nice, and had cake and pizza for dinner. Oh my God, I dared to see what you had later on, and played sparklies outside at night time. What are sparklies? Do you mean sparklers? Are they those little metal things that you light at the end and they're like sparkling away? Huh? I think that's what you mean. I used to have a couple in the cupboard over there. I don't think I got them now. He says, my birthday present hasn't arrived yet. It's coming through the post. And that's from Tassie. So, well done, Matthew, the Tasmanian devil. Hope you had a nice birthday. I wonder what present you're going to get. Do let us know. The email address of the show is chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. All right, nice to hear from you. And talking of all these bad foods and things, okay, I was watching the telly last night, and there was this programme on about losing weight. You know, something that never comes out of my mind. Incidentally, I weighed myself just before we came on the show today, just a touch over 13 stone. 13.0.2. Okay? So 13stone.0.2. Do you want to know what that is in pounds? Oh, I don't know. Where's the calculator? Oh, it's not here, so you can't know. I think it's something like 84 kilos, possibly something like that. 13stone.02 pounds. So it's not a pound. That's just a touch over 13 stone. And I just can't get it below the 13. Can't get it below the 13. Maybe that's my correct weight. But there was this very interesting programme on the television last night. And it was talking about easy ways to lose weight. And one of the easiest ways to do it is to change your plate size from 12 inches to 10 inches. And they reckon you don't notice it. It's 22% less food, and you just don't notice the difference. So that's interesting, changing your plate size from 12 to 10 inches. They've tested this with people, and it works. One of the other things you have to do is count calories. It's all very well eating whatever you're eating, but you must count the calories. There was this woman on there who's a large woman, and she reckons she doesn't eat any junk food or anything like that. But when she kept this diary, it became obvious that she actually eats quite a lot. Now, one of the things she eats, interestingly, is the same as me, First thing in the morning, she has a very large fruit salad. And I mean a large one. And I think I'm guilty of this myself. It's quite a large bowl full of fruit and topped with bran flakes. That's what I have. And although these items are very, very good for your fruit, they are laden with natural sugar, which I suppose I knew really, but still the fruit would be better than having 2 or 3 Mars bars or something like that, wouldn't it? However, still full of calories. So your answer there would be to cut down on it, to make it a smaller portion. Perhaps, like the plate size, change your bowl size, couldn't you? And another thing it told you was if you eat protein items, for example, lean meat, eggs, beans, fish, it keeps you feeling full for longer. So there's me thinking I might change my meals around a bit. And I really like scrambled eggs. And I never have them. Very, very rarely. Maybe 2 or 3 times a year, if that. I also like baked beans. So I'm thinking, perhaps from tomorrow, I might start my day with a lovely plate of scrambled eggs and baked beans, because you've got protein there, and that will stop me being tempted, like if I'm out in town, to have a cheese and onion pasty or a sausage roll or a bag of crisps while I'm walking around town. It's so easy to do it then, isn't it? When you're walking out there doing your shopping and you are tempted, or an ice cream or something like that. If I have those things in the morning, that should help me not eat things as I'm going around. So scrambled eggs and baked beans for breakfast sounds lovely to me. And then in the afternoon, then I'll have the bowl of fruit, because I think it's still important to have your fruit and vegetables. Have a bowl of fruit in the afternoon, and then a usual dinner. So I might actually try that. And they also did a experiment with 2 army groups, in which they had 2 meals, which consisted of, I think, chicken and potatoes. And one group of the army people ate the meal as solids, as it was on the plate, right? And the other group ate it liquidized. So all this stuff was put in a liquidizer and came out as a very thick soup. And they were exactly the same meals, okay, exactly the same calories. And yet the people who ate the soup felt full for much longer than the people who ate the solid foods with a glass of water. So there's another little tip for you there. You might want to try some of these out yourself. Also, interestingly enough, when you do your exercising, immediately after the exercise and during is not the time you lose the most weight. It actually happens afterwards. Now, the reasoning, this was all these scientific tests they were doing on the show. And apparently the reason for this is, when you're doing your exercising, your body first burns carbohydrates that are hanging around in you. And when you are resting, or after the exercise, there's no carbohydrates left. So it then starts burning the fat that you might have built up over a while. So I found the whole thing very, very interesting, and there's certainly some good ideas there. Now, we're also saying something that we've all known for a long, long time now, is that you mustn't miss breakfast. Very important. Interestingly, they put this bloke in a machine which could read his brain waves. They did it one day where he had breakfast, and one day when he hadn't had breakfast. On the day he had breakfast, they flashed pictures at him of different types of foods, okay? And some of the foods were salads, some of the foods were stuff like donuts. And if he'd had breakfast, he wasn't too bothered about the foods he was looking at, okay? He didn't suddenly want to eat the salad, or indeed the donut. Wasn't bothered by either of them. But when they did the same thing when he didn't have breakfast, and these pictures flashed up, there was a lot of brain activity when he saw the pictures of donuts and chips and all those very high fat things, but not much activity when he saw the salad things. So it's almost like the brain knows that it's empty and overcompensates because it knows where all the calories are. They're not in that lettuce leaf or tomato, are they? They're in the donuts. Come on, who doesn't like a donut covered in sugar and jam? We love it! Oh, I could just do with a bag of those now, couldn't you? Morrison's, we have a Morrison's here in Bracknell. They absolutely do the best donuts. They really do. Morrison's donut. Oh, you must try. If you ever come to the UK, find a Morrison's, get a bag of jam donuts. I need those now. So very, very interesting there. And we've all known that for a long time. Never, ever miss breakfast, okay? I'm also going to try, I think, and introduce a little bit more walking, because I haven't been walking much recently. I cycle, I swim, haven't been walking much. I might try an extra walk or two during the week, maybe at night time. I quite like walking around at night here in Bracknell. Well, that's a bit dangerous, I suppose. I could be attacked! Attacked! And then who's going to sit here and do your show? Yes. So there we are. Any feelings on that at all? Do let us know. My email address is chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. Just before I came up here, I was looking at the news and I was talking about the weather. Incidentally, we're in the studio today. We're not in the garden. It doesn't look like it's going to rain, but it's a little bit chilly today. Just a touch chilly. And they were actually saying on the news, on the weather forecast, that it's going to get very warm next week, possibly even hot. Yes, hot weather here in the UK, at last. Now, we haven't had a bad time, actually, but the last week or so it's been particularly clouded and overcast, and although being warm, so I shan't complain, you know, it's not been very sunny. But it looks like the sun is returning at last. Pleased to say. But I was saying on there they were doing this climate change report thing, and they reckon by 2080 here in the UK we could be having summers with heat waves of 41 degrees. Now that's hot. 41 degrees. So what's that? 82, 92, 102. Just about 112 degrees Fahrenheit. That's hot. Now I don't like the cold weather. Okay? I like it hot. I much prefer it hot. But 41 degrees is a little bit too much, isn't it? Especially if it comes regularly. 2080, they reckon that happened. It's no use you saying, oh, you won't be there, that I might be. How do you know? Excuse me, I am going to live for at least 20,000 years. And do you know what? I've been booked to do 2 talk shows for every minute in those 2,000 years, 20,000 years that I'm going to be alive. I shall talk for every minute. Don't you worry about that. You won't miss a thing, dear. I can talk for 20,000 years, no problem. Shocking, isn't it, eh? 41 degrees. I mean, the Australians, of course, have already experienced this many, many times. In fact, a lot of my Australian friends tell me that it does actually get hotter and hotter in Australia. Each year seems to get a bit hotter. And I do happen to know around the Christmas, New Year's period, you do get very, very hot weather in Australia. And is it right? Was it last year or the year before? A lot of you couldn't even come out of the houses. It was so hot. I don't think I'd like that. I mean, I like warm weather, but that's a bit too much. I think I like about 75 degrees. Something that's pleasant, isn't it? About 75 degrees. Eh? But they reckon that farmers here in the UK, by then, will have to adapt to this. We won't be able to grow some of the stuff that we're growing at the moment. I suppose. I mean, what grows in hot weather? Tomatoes, lemons and oranges. That'd be quite nice to have lemon and orange trees, wouldn't it? Like they have in Spain. Would it be similar weather to that they have in Spain? I don't know. Yeah, lemons, oranges, peppers, tomatoes. What else? I don't know. What else could you grow in hot weather? If you know, let us know. The email address of the show, chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. So they reckon much hotter summers and much wetter winters, which of course is a bit of a worry to areas in the UK that flood. Now, foolishly, here in the UK, for some reason, councils and the government keep giving builders permission to build on floodplains. Now, floodplains are areas that are naturally there for the water in rivers to flood when it gets too much. Okay, so you've got the river going straight down the middle, and on either side you have an area which is lower than the area surrounding it, and that's where the water goes when it floods. But what happens, I think, is the builders go to the government and they say, well, it only floods here twice every 100 years, so that'll be all right, won't it? And the local authorities or the government, oh yeah, okay, carry on building. I mean, it's all very well, but people buy these places. I don't know if they're aware of the fact that it floods there or not, really. And then I suppose one would expect the estate agent to say, yes, well, the prices are lower here because the area floods. But don't worry, it only happens a couple of times every 100 years. What do they mean, don't worry? You know, it must be awful to have your house flood. Now, fortunately, where I am, I'm in Bracknell in Berkshire, and I am nowhere near any water. There's no river or anything here for miles. The nearest river, I think, is in Windsor, which is a fair old distance. It's a long way away. We wouldn't be flooded by anything here, really. But it must be just terrible to have your house flood. And it's not just clean water that comes in. A lot of people think, you know, it'd just be river water. Oh no, what you forget is all the sewers overflow. It all comes back up. Oh God, you know, you can be walking around in your house in your own sewage. That must be just awful. Just awful. So, you know, if you're ever going to buy a house or something like that, you know, make sure about these things. A lot of people wouldn't think to ask, does it flood here? Very, very important. I mean, and then when the water subsides, you know, it's not just a case of waiting for it to dry out. Sometimes because of the way houses are built now, the plasterboard, the, shall we say, infected water, you know, the bad water gets into the plasterboard and becomes part of it. So they have to remove areas of your plasterboard down as far as the water, and it all has to be replaced. Can you just imagine the mess in your house? Awful. Awful. Talking of people who are buying their own houses, my nephew and his girlfriend Stacey are possibly going to get their own place. Now, they've got this on a new deal that I'd never heard about this before, that they will rent the house for 1 year, and after that year, they have the option of walking away or purchasing the house, and the rental money that they've already paid will be given back to them as part of the deposit. Now, this is a new scheme that I hadn't heard about before. Also, the house price is fixed at the price it is now. Now, that side of it doesn't sound particularly good to me, because I don't think house prices are going to go up for at least a year here in the UK, possibly even longer. But what a good idea. I never had anything like that when I bought my first flat in Wandsworth in London. You just had to save up the money and that was it. But yes, this new scheme, you pay a deposit, you know, just a normal rental deposit, which I suppose would be 1 month's rental. And then you pay your rent each month. I think it's about £500, something like that. At the end of the period, do you want to buy a house? No, thank you, they'll either walk away or not. And for a couple, I think this is a brilliant thing to do. I'm a firm believer in trialing your relationships. Other people would say, oh, no. If you love each other, just go ahead and buy a house and all that. But it's not as simple as that, as many of us find out. Now, I was married once. I was married a very, very short period of time. Why it went wrong is not for this programme. It would be unfair for me to start going on about that. You'd need her in the studio as well to put her side of the story. So we won't go into that. But nevertheless, had I have bought a house, or had we have bought a house, it would have been very, very difficult when we split up, wouldn't it? You've got to sell the house, and then who gets what, and they get half of that, or all this business. Or usually the bloke ends up paying for the house and the woman lives there, or whatever. Much better to get together and rent somewhere for a period of time, shall we say a year. And then after a year, you've got a pretty good idea of whether it's going to work or not. Because it's very, very different living with someone than just going out and seeing them. Much, much different. Good idea to rent somewhere first. The trouble is, sadly, a lot of couples, they don't do this. They see each other for a while. We've heard of even whirlwind romances. A lot of the celebrities have this, don't they? And they get married within a few months. They buy a property. They have the baby. A year down the line, oh dear, it doesn't work. And it's all very sad, really. Because then it's very, can be very, very messy. Much better to just rent a place together and see how that goes. Do you not think? Your thoughts on that, please. Email address chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. So my nephew and his I was going to say my nephew and niece then. My nephew and his girlfriend going out to rent somewhere. I don't think they've heard yet whether they've got the place. But my niece reckons that the place that they're buying, the area does flood. So really, I want to go up there and have a little look on this and perhaps give advice, because Gary does listen to me, and I would never give him information that would be detrimental to him. But I suppose, a year rented, they will be renting the property that they are considering to buy. Now, of course, will it flood? I would hope that if it's going to flood, it floods in that first year, and that will put them off buying it. But I don't know. I need to check, and I don't know quite why it does flood there, because the river isn't particularly close to where they live. Although it is a spa, Woodhall Spa in Lincolnshire is where they live. Perhaps they have a history of flooding in that area. I don't know. All right, so there's my family news. Right, shall we do some emails today? Here we go, emails. First of all, from Louise. Hello, Louise. Haven't heard from you for ages, my darling. We like to hear from people regularly, dear. Regular correspondence. And Louise writes, I hope you're okay. Was watching your show where you were talking about the Waltons. Oh, yes. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Da-da-da-da. Have we got the music? Do you want the music? Hang on a minute. Let's see if I can find the music to the Waltons. Hang on. I'll grab it quickly off YouTube. Just a minute now. Waltons. Hang on, where's my keyboard? Talk amongst yourselves for a second. Where is it? Here we are. Here we are. I think this is it. This is it. I hope so. Here we go. Remember this? Yeah. Does this bring back any memories to you? Hey! Oh yes, the old theme music to the Waltons there. I used to love that. We had it here on a Monday night here in the UK. Every Monday, Mum would go out and we'd watch that while she was out. Fantastic. Louise says, I remember watching the Waltons. Was it on Sunday mornings? I think it was in later times, possibly on Channel 4 on Sunday mornings. But when I used to watch it, it was on BBC 2 in the 70s on Monday nights at about 8 o'clock. It's a long, long time ago. Oh, the 70s. A fantastic time to be a child. It really was. We were looked after and we were disciplined. Maybe that's why I've done all right. I worry about children now. They're not disciplined and it's difficult to discipline them without them coming out with I'll ring Childline or something like that. Childline was a thing set up for children who are abused. The trouble is, children are very clever. And they will lie. Come on, boys and girls. Mothers and fathers, you know. How many of your children lie to you? And we do hear reports sometimes of children ringing Childline because their mum or dad has smacked them on the legs or something like that. That was not what it was set up for. It's for children to ring when they are being physically or mentally abused. It's a very, very good thing, Childline, set up by the lovely Esther Ransom. But sometimes it's abused even by the very children that it was set up to do. Now, all this business about, I think sometimes the whole child protection thing is a little bit too much. You know, parents should be allowed to discipline their own children. Otherwise they get away with murder, as you well know. We see it now. I got the cane at school a few times. It certainly stopped me mucking around in class. I'm not allowed to do that now. And I think possibly it swung too far the other day. Yes, of course, children have got to be protected against any sort of abuse. It's gone a little bit too far the other way. Do you think? Your thoughts on that, please. Chris at unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. Anyway, back to this. Was it on Sunday mornings? Yeah, possibly on Channel 4. I remember it on Monday nights. And she sent me a link to a film that was made, I think, by one of the American news channels, a little like interview with the Waltons, because I think a couple of them have died now, but they were all on there, and apparently some of them keep in contact and some are still acting. It was lovely to see them all on this interview. You might want to type that in, interview with the Waltons or something like that into the Google thing, and it will come up with you should be able to find the film like that. Okay. Now, we have a new listener, a new viewer actually, someone who watches the YouTube in Sweden. Hello, our Swiss friend. No, not Swiss, our Swedish friend, not Swiss. Oh my God, I do apologise. Oh, you'll love me for that one, won't you? Who says, hi, thanks for a nice programme, excellent show. By the way, I'm from Sweden, so I guess I'm part of your international audience. You certainly are, sir. Anyway, thanks, and Kor I Vind, which roughly means keep it up. Is it up then? I didn't know. He says, I'm not going anywhere this semester, possibly further up north to Norway. It's lovely there. So thank you very much, and that's from Slip on Juggernaut. Yeah, it's one of those funny names because on YouTube you have kind of nicknames. A lot of people don't really use their real name. Although my YouTube name is Chris Reardon UK. Can you believe another Chris Reardon has got Chris Reardon? It's a liberty. That's what it is. Oh, and talking of Chris Reardon UK, we now have Facebook names. Okay. No longer do you have to search Facebook for people. You should be able to find it by using the name Chris Reardon UK. Chris Reardon UK is my Facebook name, all right? So I don't know how that works. Let me see if that works. 1 minute. If I type in How does... Just a second now. Not quite sure how this works, actually. Chris Reardon, UK. Hang on a minute. What happens there? Oh, well, that brings up my main website. Oh, it brings up my Twitter. Don't know. Let's just try the... Facebook thing. Right, what I'll do is log out of Facebook and then type in Chris Reardon UK and see what happens. 1 minute. Oh, I don't know. Not sure. Search. Okay, search. Chris Reardon UK. Does that work? Yes, it does. Oh, brilliant. Okay, so if you're on Facebook from now on, instead of searching for me, if you just type in the search bit, Chris Reardon UK as one word, it will bring up my little thing there, okay? That's a lot easier, isn't it, than having to find me on that business? Lovely, Chris Reardon UK on the Facebook. Oops, hang on a minute. The microphone's got stuck here. There we are, that's it. Lovely. Okay, onwards. Hello to Peter. It's our friend Airbags. Peter has a bit of a lung condition, don't you, sir? He's always on pills and bits, and I haven't heard from him for ages and ages and ages. So it's nice at last to receive an email from our old Airbags Peter, who writes, "Hi, lovely Chris. Yes, it's me, the one and only Airbags Incorporated. A couple of Thursdays ago, you had a moan about the lack of emails, so here I am with love and crackers, dear." No, it wasn't a moan. Certainly wasn't a moan at all. It's just, people like to know if we're running a bit low on emails, because what happens sometimes is that lovely people send them in, and they start getting a bit of a backlog. Especially if I've got loads to talk about. I have left out a few things today. I was going to talk about a new film which I went to see. Not for this show. We'll do that on the next show. Peter says, well, I must say, a couple of shows ago, I detected a slight alteration in the manner which is disturbing me. Well, here it is. You really are moaning lately about everything, and it's just not you. I don't moan, do I, Peter? Peter, am I moaning, lovey? I'm certainly not moaning. Please. I'm just sharing experiences. I wouldn't call that moaning, lovey. I am not moaning. Stop it now, or I will moan. Just a few words about me. I have recently had operations on my eyes, so can now see you and realised that the people around me are ugly. So I've been in shock for a few weeks, but I'm listening to the gorgeous Chris has been something of a soothing experience with the joy of seeing you in your garden. Do you like my garden programmes? I love doing the show out there. My hanging baskets, I have to say, my hanging baskets this year are better than they have ever been. They really are. I have also sent my dresser to that sports shop. Oh, you mean Sports Direct, my favourite shop. This programme should be sponsored by Sports Direct, I feel. To buy me some cheap tracksuits, etc. As I have not been out for about a year, except to the hospital. It's the only work my chauffeur has done for nearly a year. Oh, have you got a chauffeur? It must be lovely to be driven around by a chauffeur, mustn't it? Do you know what I was thinking of doing? Right, I was thinking of hiring a really flash car, something like a Bentley or a Rolls Royce, next time I go up to see my sister. And I won't say anything, you know, I just park it in her driveway. And then when she gets up in the morning, her face! She'll say, what's that? Oh, that's my new car, Sharon. And I won't tell her. What do you reckon? How much is that very expensive to hire a Bentley for a few days? Or we might be talking £500 or £600. That's an awful lot of money, isn't it? Oh dear. I can hear what you're saying. Just do it. No. Actually, my friend Justin, he's got a lovely BMW, flash BMW, which with the fold down roof and all that. I wonder if he'll let me borrow that. Oh yes. I just want to see her face when I pull up in it. Peter says, your garden is quite gorgeous and the growing of food is very green. So my gardener has instructions to start planting fruit and veg so that I can claim to be green. Well, yeah, veg, definitely. Fruit will take a little bit longer, Peter. Quite often, fruit things that you plant, such as apple trees, blueberries, gooseberries, that sort of thing, they don't, I do believe they don't really fruit in the first year, so be warned of that, okay? You might not get anything out of those the first year. But certainly veg, possibly a bit late for a lot of stuff now. You should, at this stage, still be able to grow lettuces. And can I suggest, if you're going to grow, you could grow tomatoes. Oh, I know what you could do. If you still want to do it now, Peter, go down to your local garden centre and buy plants that are already fairly mature. Okay? Because you're too late to do this by seed now. All right? Grow and get the partially mature plants and continue growing those in your garden. Either plant them directly in the garden. I haven't planted mine directly in the garden. Mine have been, I've got grow bags and large pots. Although next year I'm considering a little area of the garden, building it up with a couple of wooden planks and having a, what is it called? A raised vegetable patch. I'm kind of wondering about that next year. I might do that. Now, interestingly enough, a raised vegetable area looks quite an easy thing to do. All you do is make a square of planks of wood. Dig up that bit of your garden as well as you can, and then fill up that bit with the wood, with the planks in, the area that you've created. Fill that up with other more soil, perhaps bags of earth or something like that, I suppose you could do. And then do your vegetables like that. Now, a fairly cheap thing to do. But I did notice in the same garden centre that I got some of the ready-grown plants from, I did notice that they were doing a raised garden, which looked to me like it was just 4 planks bolted together. And they wanted something like 60 quid for these planks of wood. And I thought, that's a bit dear. You know, you can go down to your local DIY place and get planks of wood a lot cheaper than that and kind of make this square box yourself. All right, Pete, so if you want to do it, I think you'd best go out. You can do lettuces and possibly a few other things still at this late stage, because they grow quite quickly, don't they? But things like tomatoes, peppers, anything like that, you're going to have to go and get plants, all right? Get plants that are sort of half-grown already. Peter says, I'm writing to this, listening to the show you did with Suko. Hope I spelt that right. No, you've put Suki. It's Suko, S-U-K-O. He says, I hope I spelt that right. She sounds like a lovely person. Yes, she is. And I shall be meeting her in just a few weeks' time. She's coming to the UK and she's taking me out for the evening with her lovely family, and we are going to see The Lion King. And in return, we are all going to Pizza Hut. Yes, Pizza Hut. Lovely. Talking about the flu jab, as you were, I get this every year. Yeah, so do I. I get the flu every year. Not the flu every year. I get the flu jab every year. And touch wood, have never had any reaction to it. No, neither have I. But Jeanette has had a few years with bad reactions, flu-like symptoms, which have actually been very bad. Yeah, but Peter, you see, the thing is, are you sure that's the injection, or do you think she might have caught something anyway? I have to say I've been pretty lucky as well. I don't think I've had any symptoms at all after I've had a flu injection. And indeed, there's been many, many years that people around me have been dropping down like flies. I mean, really quite nasty flu and colds and things. And it hasn't touched me. So I think it does work. I'm sure I saw on the news that the swine flu, which seems to be gathering momentum now, and I'm sure they said that the people with flu injections are not immune to the swine flu, but will probably have less symptoms. It won't be as bad for us because over the years we've had all these injections, and that brings up a little bit of not immunity to it, but not full immunity like we have to many of the other flus. I think I think there's a lot of us praying really that by the time the flu comes back round in autumn time, isn't it? They were saying September, October, November. By then, hopefully, there be some sort of immunisation injection against that. Anyway, Peter wants to know, he says, the videos you do are brilliant. Can you tell me the make and model of the camera? And also, what is the lights flashing up on the shelf behind you with the pictures on top? Okay, well, the camera that I use to record the show and put on YouTube is a Canon FS... Just a minute. Let me have a quick look on the side of it. I can't remember now. 1 minute now. It's got it written here somewhere. There it is. Okay. Legria FS200. All right. It's a Canon Legria FS200. That's the name of the camera. Canon Legria FS200. Cost me about £280. It's widescreen. And it's fantastic. But it's not just a camera, Peter. It depends what you do with it. That's the equipment. Now, the sound, I actually do not record on the camera itself. The sound is recorded via my microphone. The sound goes, when I'm in the studio, it goes straight into the computer. It's actually recorded on two computers. One which is to the left of me. Now, I think that's what you mean by the flashing lights. That's actually a computer program recording the audio for this show. All right. It's also recorded on another computer there, which you can't see. The reason the sound's recorded on both is if one doesn't work properly, I've got the other as a backup, because it's an awful thing to have done an entire show and for it to have gone wrong. So there are those flashing lights. And then what I do when the show's finished, I then stop the camera and the sound. I put it into a program. Now, the program I use to create the video side of things is called Adobe Premiere Elements. About 80 quid. For 80 quid, it's damn good value for money. I will say that. It's a really good program for 80 quid. And there I add the credits which come up, and I bring into that program the video, and I bring in the audio, and I match it up. I synchronize it, and it actually works very well. And then you save it to whatever format you want to save it to. More recently, I've been saving it to Flash format. Flash, for those of you technically minded, I've now been saving it to Flash 8 700K widescreen format. I think 720 by 540. I might have that wrong, but I think that's what I'm saving it to, 720 by 540. Okay. Now, funnily enough, a few weeks ago, I knew nothing about all this stuff, and I've kind of learnt quite quickly with it all. All right. So that's the technical information for you. When I'm outside, I don't have it in here with me at the moment, but I record the sound on a little gadget. You'll often see when I'm doing the shows in the garden, I've got a little microphone sitting next to me which appears to have no wires. Well, that's because it doesn't. It's recorded directly onto that gadget. Quite an expensive little tool. That was about 800 quid, that was. I've had it about 2 years now. When it comes to audio stuff, I do believe you get what you pay for. And that's a brilliant little device. Absolutely. And it gets an awful lot of use, so it's value for money because I get a lot of use out of it. So that's how I record the program. Now, there are also some lights flashing behind me on the shelf there. Now, that's called a compressor. There are two compressors, one at the bottom. That serves the computer you can't see, and one on the top, which serves the computer you can see. And a compressor, that's so if my voice goes very low or goes very loud, it kind of smooths it out. Because if that wasn't there, you'd be turning the volume on your computer up and down all the time, because you wouldn't have been able to hear my quiet bits and my loud bits. All right, so that's what those two devices do there. And they also stop the sound going too high, which is when you would get distortion. All right, Peter. So thanks for asking. I like to tell people that. By the way, the very top shelf is not level. Hey? Yes, it is, isn't it? It is level. It must be the way you're looking at it, Peter. Hang on, can I see it on the screen? Oh, actually, does it lean slightly to one side? Hang on, can I have a look? 1 minute. I'm going to have a look at that now. Yes, it is. That is level. I'm going to have to get my leveler thing out now. That thing with the little bubble in it. Looks level to me. Unless it's my cross eyes that are causing the problem, Peter. He says, well, my dear, it's 2 a.m. and the meds are kicking in, so good night. Hug morning, hug evening, hug, and anytime hug. Who is that crazy Canadian lady? Oh, what, the one who wrote in, said that she didn't like the way I spoke about people. I don't know what her name is. But everyone has the right to send an email in. And even the bad ones I read out. As you know, if people don't like the show, fine. I'll read them out. But I never quite understand people who don't like a show and then write in about it. Why don't they just turn it off? Simple as that. If I don't like something on the telly, I turn it over. I don't write them a letter. It's always for people. People just seem to need to comment all the time nowadays, don't they? They don't accept something for what it is. And this is supposed to be a fairly light-hearted, humorous show. Sometimes, though, it has to be said, not everyone gets everyone's senses of humour. You have to tune into, you have to be on the same level. I like to think that all the regular people who listen or watch the show are on the same level as me. And perhaps I'm on the same level as them. But I wouldn't know unless you wrote in, and I could tell by your email. I could tell you, Peter, are definitely on the same level as me. Look at your with the problems that you have with your lungs, and yet you just take you take the mick out of it, don't you? Which is exactly the same as I would do with any condition like that. I would laugh at it. Yeah, you don't want to sit there crying and worrying. Anyway, Peter, thank you very much, and it's lovely to hear from you, sir. Can you not find a little bit more time to email more regularly, if you don't mind? Thank you. The email address of the show is chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. We've got a couple of new listeners. I'll try and get both these in before the end of the show. First of all, let's go to Al. Hello, Al. Who must be quite close to us here. I reckon you're close to us. Hello, mate. Nice to see some snobbery against Reading. Or, as that Wayne fella keeps mentioning, Tokers Green, which practically might as well be Reading anyway. It's like Binfield is in Bracknell. Oh, yeah. It's funny how you get certain areas, wherever you are in the world, you get certain areas of people that live in places that are actually... For example, he's saying Binfield and Bracknell. Binfield is in Bracknell. Okay, it's a nice part of Bracknell, but nevertheless, Binfield, you are from Bracknell, okay? Don't forget it. It's not anything special. It's a nice little area, but don't think you're better than Bracknell, because it isn't. You're all part of Bracknell. End of story. And Tokers Green, which I always say, Tokers Green is Reading, okay? It might be a nice bit of Reading, but at the end of the day, it's classed as Reading. Just because the council doesn't consider it Reading, doesn't mean it isn't. It is. In my mind, Tokers Green is Reading, okay? He says, although Reading has probably got the best shopping area, to be fair, but then, who likes shopping all the time? I agree. Reading has some fantastic shopping facilities, but have you tried to get to them by car? The queuing that goes on to get in that... Oh, there's a place called the Oracle Centre. Lovely load of shops. Okay? They've got a gadget shop in there, and they've got a HMV. All my favourite shops are in there, but it's an absolute pain to park in that area. They do have a multi-storey car park, but you spend ages and ages trying to queuing, not only to get in, but to get out of the damn thing as well. And then you come out of this place and you turn left, and then you have to go around this one-way system, and there's traffic lights near the Inland Revenue place where I was done once. Oh, I've told you loads of times that story, and where the Sainsbury's home base, and it's just a nightmare to get round that place. And that's why I don't go shopping in Reading anymore, because it's a nightmare. Some idiots who they plan these things and they don't do it properly, and they turn the whole thing, oh, I'm moaning again, aren't I? They turn the whole thing into one blooming large car park, and people don't want to go there anymore. Yes, plenty of people do, but they don't get a penny out of me, because I refuse to sit in miles and miles of traffic just to go some shopping. So I don't do it. I do it all online. Most of my shopping's online. The one thing I would like in Bracknell is an Asda or a Waitrose. I like those. He says, also, it's nice to know that you consider Bracknell is Royal Berkshire as opposed to Reading, which is just Berkshire. Absolutely. Reading, you're just Berkshire. Bracknell is Royal Berkshire. Two completely different places. He said, though really, the royal part is supposed to be the royal borough of Windsor and Maidenhead. But how Maidenhead got in that deal anyway is a mystery, when Maidenhead is just Slough's little mate down the road. You write good emails here, Al. Let's have a few more of these, shall we? Al from East Bracknell, not Downmarket, South Bracknell. You know, the side nearer Great Hollands. Well, I'm near Great Hollands, Al. I'm in Hanworth. Very near Birch Hill, actually. He says, last week I was listening to your show while doing a spot of gardening for someone. I looked out and saw you cycle past. What a coincidence. Well, you should have waved. You should have waved. Call me over next time. I've got to go now. We did have another new listener, someone in the Canaries. I'll read it out for you on the next show. Join in by email, chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. Thanks for watching and listening to the show. I'll see you on the next one. From myself, Chris Reardon. Bye-bye.